Welcome to another edition of Ask the Hub. Today we want to talk about IT leadership and how IT leadership is changing nowadays. And for that matter, we invited Adam Filipowski. He's the CEO of Leocode and an expert on that topic. Hi Adam, how are you doing?
Hi David, thank you for the invitation.
Great to have you here. So, IT leadership, a big topic, is talked about in many different places. What would you say is the most important skill or the most important soft skill actually that you need as an IT leader in order to have successful tech teams?
The one soft skill, which is most desired, at least desired by me, it's responsibility. About 15 years ago, I've conducted a research on over 20 plus project managers back then and asked them what was the most important soft skill, and over 90% of them, to my surprise, answered responsibility. And after 20 years in this field, I cannot agree more. What's happening is there is no responsibility without discipline. And there's no discipline without a leader who creates a disciplined environment. What I mean by saying disciplined environment, it's an environment where people are willing to take accountability on themselves, are willing to proactively solve problems, that are actually willing to speak out and not afraid to be judged. So they all work towards the very specific goal, which everyone understands. It's an environment which is disciplined. That's what the leader should do, and not discipline people. That's a totally different thing. And I think the leader should be extremely careful not to discipline people, but to create a disciplined environment. That's a big difference.
Another difference, also another very discussed topic is the difference between leaders and managers. This you can see quite a bit in discussions. And how do you see it yourself? What do you think is the difference between leader and a manager? How do you spot the difference?
Yes. Leadership is a hot topic in our industry. I believe that the reason for it because everyone finally understood that we have far too many managers, and managers we're there to control stuff, to have more control, to push stuff, enforce results on the team and goals. Where actually what this does is actually it's teaching the team and teaching the team members not to think for themselves. It's basically where the manager takes the most of the responsibility and the team is relieved from responsibility. So after a while, you get the opposite effect from what you need. And I think what's happening right now is we have a trend that there's less and less project managers there, and the team basically can organize themselves. The teams are mature enough to make the decisions by themselves. So those project managers are now trying to fit into different roles. Very often this is a product manager role, product owner role, where they just get another team member. They're not telling everybody what to do. They try to contribute to the team. They contribute to the team goal. As just one of the team members. This is a very responsible role, and I think we're going to see more product managers around in next years.
And when we talk about responsibility, then what we can see as well is there's much more and more pressure coming on product owners, right? Why do you think that is? Why do you have more pressure on product owners?
The answer is simple. The software is expensive. It can solve a lot of problems, and it's a great promise. Software is eating the world, but software is very expensive. If I remember correctly, about 37% of the world's software ends up in the bin. It's never being used. That equals to about $30 billion a year in US alone. And so if you make the wrong decision, you actually, on the very beginning, on the product direction or navigation or the market positioning of it, you can spoil the whole team effort, which is super demotivating. And not to mentioning, you will lose the investors' money and damage your reputation. So what's added to it is a plurality of all the frameworks, of all the systems, of their sources, projects, now no code trend growing. So you have tons of solutions. There are more and more. So it's harder and harder for product owners to navigate through this very complex web of options. And what I do see is very often the owners of the company are expecting one person to make all those decisions, where I believe that's a false expectation. It's impossible, even in middle-sized company, in an early stage startup, like before the Series A, it's almost impossible for one person to make all the decisions. It's impossible to have just one leader on board. That's why it's so important to have more leaders and to create more leaders within the company who can take those responsible decisions.
Okay, and so when we talk then about Leocode, I mean, as far as I know, you have actually your own framework, right? When it comes to building IT leaders, to helping IT leaders, and especially when it comes to decision making and responsible decision making. So tell us a bit more about this system, this framework that you created.
Yes, I mean, in Leocode we try to make very, we say, reasonable decisions. The reason I say reasonable is to have a right reason for doing stuff, for writing the code. We say that 1 hour of thinking through and figuring things out is more important than 100 hours of coding, and I'm a true believer of that. And we also want to be able to do it right. So we always make sure that we have the right resources to achieve a certain goal, and be open if we are not. And that's created a lot of processes, behaviors, good practices. We actually gather them all together, and we teaching them within the company under one name called WISE. We're releasing the new version of it every quarter, because every quarter we have new lessons, we have new developers who contribute to this better way of creating successful projects. Our Leocode framework is more of like a system. It's a whole bunch of rules and lessons we developed over 15 years of experience. A lot of successful projects, a lot of failed ones, and then we learn based on that experience. So our clients, our partners can learn based on our experience. They don't have to wait 15 years and do 100 projects to learn that. So every person who actually joins Leocode, the first weeks is heavily onboarded on all our lessons and very practical examples why we do things in a certain way and how that actually prevent us from catching fires.
Great. I think it's great that a company is actually taking the responsibility of creating such a system, let's say, right? Yeah, so thank you very much for your insights on this topic.
Thank you.
And for the viewers out there, if you have questions to Leocode or on IT leadership in general, please leave them down here in the comments and we are happy to answer them. See you next time.